Good evening, and welcome to the April 2nd, 2012 Pine Bluff City Council meeting. We'll call this meeting to order. Hey, Mrs. Whitfield, would you give us a roll call, please?
Alderwoman Hope. Here. Alderman Brumman. Here. Alderman Easterly. Here. Alderman Steph.
Here.
Alderman Walker.
Here.
Alderman Boyd. Here. Alderman Brown.
Here.
Alderman Mays.
Here.
Okay, each of you have a copy of the minutes from our March 15th special call meeting, and as well as the minutes from March 19th, 2012.
Move to accept.
Second.
It's been moved and probably second that the minutes of March 15th and March 19th be approved as presented. All in favor of that motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposes? The motion carries 8-0. All right, Mrs. Hogan, we're going to move on into ordinances and resolutions, ma'am.
Ordinances and resolutions met prior to the meeting, and we will take action on the following items. We will finish number 1, and number 2 has been tabled, and we'll do resolutions 3 and 4. That's the end of ordinances and resolutions.
Thank you. I didn't get a copy.
Can you repeat that?
Okay, we're gonna finish number 1. Number 2 has been pulled. Then we're gonna finish 3 and 4.
Let's see. All righty, thank you, ma'am. All righty, we'll go into our Ways and Means. Mr. Brummett, one budget adjustment I think you have.
Yes, sir. The Ways and Means Committee met prior to the meeting, and we have a budget adjustment, which is the from the street department, $705,292. This is basically carryover funds from the 2011 budget for street overlay and shop roof repair. I move that we accept this budget adjustment from the street department.
It's been moved and properly seconded that a budget adjustment from the street department in the amount of $705,000 to move the 2011 carryover funds so it can be distributed to the 2012 budget for street overlays and also for the street department's roof replacement. Are there any questions?
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
What, they didn't have time to do all of the projects that they had laid out for them? Is that what it is?
Well, some of this is the bond proceeds coming into effect for this year.
Okay. I was gonna say, because we got some areas that has been on the list that we haven't had any work done in those areas, so I didn't want them to be turning back no money. We got some areas that hadn't been completed.
No, they're doing more streets than they've ever done before. And
Okay.
on behind of your package, you see there's probably $1.2 million
Okay.
worth of
Work to be done.
work to be done on various streets throughout the community. So
Okay.
they are doing a tremendous amount of work.
Okay.
Yes. Are there any other questions? Hearing none. Excuse me. All in favor of the resolution, I'm sorry, for the adjustment, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposes? Okay, the motion carries 8-0.
Mayor, I move that the bills of the city be paid.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded that the bills of the city be paid. All in favor of that motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposes? The motion carries 8-0.
That concludes my report.
Thank you, sir. Alderwoman Walker, Economic and Community Development.
Well, we did not have a meeting, Mayor, but I did ask Mr. Sampson for some information on the park off of 13th Street. I have not received it. I don't know if he's here or not.
I don't think he is, ma'am. What information was that?
I had asked for the original amount that was provided to for this park, and I wanted to know what work had been done.
Which park is that?
What is the name of that park?
You're the one that James was working on at 13th.
Okay.
Memorial Park.
Okay.
On Memorial Park. And I wanted to know what work had been done on it, and who had did the work, and how much were they paid, and the name.
Okay, Mr. Miller might be able to address some of that. I don't think he can answer all of those questions.
It came through community development.
Yeah, Mr. Sampson asked me for that information, and I sent him an
He
email.
doesn't have it.
It's in the financial statements, and so I
But I'm
pulled,
saying he doesn't have it in his department.
Does he have that information, what you asked him? Ms. Walker?
Yes.
Did you provide that to him, sir?
yeah, I sent him an email with, the amount of budget. There was $15,000 budgeted in one of the years, I think in '09, and then another $30,000 was budgeted, and the $15,000 carried over for a total of $45,000 in '10. None of it had been spent. It was all carried over to 2011. None of it's been spent to date. So you have a budget for $45,000.
At one point, if I'm not mistaken, it was 85,000 in that budget. And I still would like the information, no reflection, Mr. Miller, but I would like the information from Don Sampson, since it is his department. He was overseeing the money.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I appreciate it, though.
Okay, but my records reflect a budget of $45,000. I mean, I
Okay,
don't have,
that's why I asked him.
Yes.
Because he know what it was at one time.
okay.
All right, Ms. Walker, we'll get with Mr. Sampson and provide that information. Just excuse me a second. Ms. Harding, make a note of that, please. Thank you. Yes, sir.
That's at the corner of 13th and Franklin you're talking about, right?
Yes.
13th and Franklin. You got some dirt piled out there now. A lot of the citizens in that community right there do not want that park. I mean, but you got a few that do, but the majority of them are, displeased with it. But it was already in motion before I became on the council, so.
That is correct, it was.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Or is that in your report, Ms. Walker?
No. No more.
Huh?
No more report.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Alderman Mays, Public Health and Welfare.
We didn't have a meeting, but I would like to address some of the standing water in the ditches. If some of the citizens would call the street department at 543-5101 and be more proactive, when you see some water standing after about a week after the rain, we can kind of control it a lot better. A lot of times citizens wait until it rains and then they call, but if we can be more proactive as a citizen, as a community, we can kind of keep some of these ditches clean. I know we're really outdated with the ditches, but if we just be a little bit more proactive and call, if your ditch do have water in it today, and they'll be glad to come out. And something else also, I've got a few calls about asking the city council as a whole to have a meeting to address the homicides in Pine Bluff. Now, I'm just letting you all know, so you can say what you want and say what you
On that issue, we have been having monthly meetings, monthly community meeting, public safety. We've had a meeting every month since they had the homicide over at the Three Gables. So we do that, and we will have another one on this coming Wednesday at 5 o'clock. So we've been having those meetings at least 6 months. We're already doing that. We address all phases of crime.
Right, that's what I'm saying, but they just want to address just the homicides by themselves. But that's what we've been doing. I've been to quite a few meetings, so I understand.
All right,
Did
thank you,
you
sir.
come to this meeting?
Yeah, he
Ma'am?
come.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I won't be able to make this one here, but
Yeah, he's in regular attendance.
thank you, Ms. Alderwoman Hope.
All right, thank you, sir. Alderman Boyd, Public Works, sir.
No report, Mayor, but on the next meeting on the 16th, we're gonna have Mr. Matthew to give us an update on the Chester High and
Yes, sir.
Mayor building
Sounds good.
on where we are.
All righty.
That's it, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Alderman Steps.
No,
Development Plan.
no report, Mayor.
I noticed that we had demolishing the Loma Linda nursing home, and that's a plus for that area of town. So I want to give you some kudos on it, because I'm always complaining about all those old houses over there in that area. I'm not self-serving, but that is where our business is located. And that's where Highland Church, who put $1 million church over there on that street. And I would just think we would want to, with that great investment that they have done there, that we would just want to zero in on that area as well as other areas. And that's not my ward, but that's a part of the city. And matter of fact, there are 2 brand-new churches on that side of town. Mount Calvary, Greater Mount Calvary, St. Peter's Rock, and Highland. So those are some real investments into the community.
Okay.
Mayor, back.
Yes, sir.
Back on Alderman Boyd's report on Public Works, I meant to ask to just say that the street department did a pickup Saturday of trash and debris around town, and that was an excellent program.
Yes.
I know of a lot of people that have expressed to me how much they appreciate Mr. Golden and the work that they did to do that, because it's springtime and everybody's cleaning up and putting stuff out in front of their houses, and if you called the street department, they came out and picked it up.
And we will be doing another one in the May time frame. So this is our spring cleanup, and we will be running advertising once again in the paper, letting citizens know that we will have another pickup of branches and debris and various doable things that you can put out, household goods and things of that nature. Yeah, all right, thank you, sir. Okay, Mr. Brown?
No report, Mr. Mayor.
All right, Alderman Easterly
No report, Mayor.
and Mrs. Holcomb.
The public safety met at 4 p.m. today with all committee members present. The first thing on our agenda was we were going to have a presentation by the Gym Ambulance Company, but they did not attend, and they did make they made a call. They have hired a law firm, and the law firm contacted me at 10:10 today and wanted me to give them an answer about rescheduling the meeting by 12, and the answer to them was no, because I had to meet with the committee to find out when the committee wanted to talk to the GM representative. And so he will be here on the second, when we have the second council meeting.
16.
Yeah, on the 16th at 4 o'clock. Okay, Mr. Jack Foster brought some documentation that we were on, about a Attorney General's opinion and about the ordinance that we're gonna refer to the legal department. He's saying that the ordinance that we passed in 1999 is illegal.
Which
But
ordinance is that?
that's the one about the exclusive franchise. So, but we're gonna forward that on to the legal department, and they will make a determination, and we'll go from there. Any citizen can bring anything that they want, or but then we have to check it out with our legal department. In the police department, we have a 2% reduction in crime, and they presented a monthly report, very documented, color-coded monthly report that for each member. And during that police, while the chief was making a presentation, she had someone here from the best practice. I think she's still here. And I would like for her to come up just a couple of minutes and kind of go over your program with the council members.
Yes. Ms. Wilson? Ms. Wilson is here to address the resolution requesting that the mayor investigate the retention of professional consultants to evaluate the police department's management practices and policies. She has worked with the Commission on the Accreditation of Law Enforcement Agencies. She's out of Conway. She was the CALEA representative for the city of Conway. Ms. Wilson?
I am Susan Wilson. I am a retiree from Conway Police Department. I was a lieutenant and worked out of the chief's office. For the past 10 years of my assignment, I have been in charge of the accreditation program. We have been accredited since 2005. I was also a graduate of the National Academy, FBI National Academy, and an assessor with the CALEA Commission. I went to several states and throughout Arkansas assessment departments. I have looked at several of the policies at this department, and they're sound policies. I haven't looked any further into administration or management. That would be in-depth. But it was mentioned that the department may want to join the CALEA programs and become accredited, and I strongly urge that. I'm not being paid by CALEA, nor do I have affiliation with CALEA. This is from my own experience and what I have seen the accreditation program help Conway PD and some of the other departments that I've been to. It is a plus. I strongly suggest that you start with the program. Any questions?
If I'm not mistaken, Chief, did Joe pass out the information to the other council members? So everyone has a copy. Is it the best practices management? No, I'm sorry, he has them. Yeah. Would you pass a copy out? Pass them out, sir. Oh, he has them, yeah.
They pass them out to committee members.
What would be the advantage of being part of the?
The organization within the department, the administrative reporting, the accountability throughout the department, added security measures, and then communication with the community and services to the community. It will improve these areas.
She has a very descriptive handout that each person can read with you.
CALEA is all about the best practices of the law enforcement community. This will also keep you up on changes in law enforcement, changes in laws, Supreme Court rulings, and therefore, I don't want to say forces, but compels you to make changes in your department as needed to stay up to date.
What was the cost you mentioned in the meeting for us to implement this, put this in place?
I think the chief probably will better address
chief,
that,
yes.
if you don't mind, sir.
Well, of course, it's over a course of 3 years, Mr. Brumman. It's not all up at front at once, but over the course of 3 years, about $30,000, with annual fees and things of that nature. The setup cost, I think, is initially about 10. From there, you have to pay an annual fee of about $4,300 a year for the next 3 years. We have what they call a DMS system, which requires us to go paperless. And the main reason for that is rather than you forwarding paperwork back and forth to a CLIA, you have a system that you can go in and make a change into that, and they require you to be a part of that DMS system. And that's about $1,900 a month. But,
Not $1,800 a month.
I mean, excuse me, a year. I'm sorry, Mayor. Thank you for correcting me. It's a year. But we always talk about best practices, and that's what CALEA has done. CALEA is something that's been here for 30 years, and they have gone out and taken best practices, not just from police departments in Arkansas, but police departments internationally and nationally, and came up with the best practices, and that's what these CALEA standards are. They're considered to be the best practices nationwide and internationally wide. So there's no sense in reinventing the wheel because this has already been done. They have gone out and did the research and got all of the things that are the best way to handle every policy and every type of situation that a police officer could be possibly involved in.
Can you share with the council and citizens the communities within the state of Arkansas that are already certified by CALEA?
I don't have that in front of me. But I know that Jonesboro, you got it? Okay. I didn't bring this in here. I gave you a copy of it.
Okay. All right, the cities,
Jonesboro,
Conway, Fort Smith, Arkansas State University Police,
Little Rock, North
Jacksonville, and North Little Rock.
and Little Rock.
And Little Rock.
So all your metropolitan, your major cities of any have these standards. Mayor, I also would like to address one other thing. We talk about the homicides and the number of homicides we've had. We've had 4. We had one that was a justifiable homicide, as we know, and then there's only 4 other ones after that. But 3 of those 4, do you want to know what they were from? They were from domestic violence. It's not random shootings here. It was from boyfriend, girlfriend, sister, brother. It's domestic violence. I have preached about domestic violence being the core of the problem in the city for over 2 years. So we know what the problem is. The problem is us trying to fix that problem. We don't have to go out here and do an assessment. 90% of the crimes that we're having all go back to some type of domestic violence. Whether it's a boyfriend stealing a girlfriend's car and she wants to retaliate, whether it's a mother want to take her child away from the mother. We all know what these problems are. We as a community have to address what they are. Tell your children, especially you young ladies out here, that, you know, when you have a problem with your boyfriend, learn to walk away from that. It's no harm in raising your child by yourself. I've done it myself for the last 14 years. But you have to understand that that is the bulk of our problem here in the city, is domestic violence.
Chief, since we know that domestic violence is the bottom line,
Yes, ma'am.
on what exactly is there being done?
Well, you know, I've been...
When things, when people report domestic violence or if something happened, because I notice a lot of times that they have a problem where maybe
They don't want
the female is a
Not
victim
one.
of domestic violence. No, they report it, but they arrest them sometime, and they are not there very long. And I have also heard of instances where the male officer will come out and take the side of the male instead of the victim.
Well, if that's happening, you need to please let me know what that circumstance is, because that is not supposed to be happening. But the city attorney can advise you that we have been trying to work towards victimless prosecution, where the victim does not have to be in court, where they don't have to file the charges. We go by statements of utterance. We go by the 911 tapes. We're going by the way the house looks at the time of the incident. Those are things that we're trying to do to get victimless prosecution, because a lot of time the female, she'll report it, but 2 days later, she don't want to come to court. 2 days later, the boyfriend has agreed to pay the rent, and now she don't want to prosecute. It's always certain circumstances that causes them to change their mind. So these things are what we in the city attorney's office are trying to work towards, is so they don't have to come in to do those type of things. We also are passing out cards when we go to domestic violence that gives them alternatives that they can do. We have the CASA number down that they can call and talk to someone there if they want alternative housing, if they can't find housing, because that's the reason why they're not reporting the crime. We give them anything from having to be able to call the DA's office so they can talk to the victim witness person there. They have several alternatives on this little card that we give them to help them with that type of information.
Ms. Walker, we've partnered with the DA office as well as with CASA and other support organizations within the community to focus on domestic violence and try and eliminate that. That's something that's big in our community, and we recognize it, and we want to make sure that we minimize it and hopefully eliminate it one day.
I understand, but what I'm saying is that I have heard over and over again that somebody called the police and the police come out, and if the man, they won't make the guy leave, or they
We always make the guy leave, Ms.
No, you don't always. They're supposed to, but
that's
they
a
don't.
part that we cannot leave them there. I have officers that are standing here that would tell you that we're required to make one party leave, and if there's a sign of aggression there, we have to lock somebody up if the person is on site. 9 times out of 10, when we get there, the aggressor is gone. We have 12 hours to arrest that person on what we call a consent warrant, whereas that person, you don't have to go to the DA's office to actually sign a warrant. But yes, ma'am, we are required to arrest that person if that person's on scene and he's determined to be the aggressor. Now, I don't have to tell you that. I have 2 officers here that will also tell you that.
Well, I'm not saying what you're telling me. I'm saying what the victims have said. So, you know, there are extenuating circumstances, maybe that it needs to be tightened up a little bit as far as what is done by the officers when they go out.
Well, I'm sure my officers are doing their job.
Okay,
You know, I am. I'm sure my officers are doing their job, because we reiterate that. I have my deputy chief from patrol who does this in roll call training, and she talks about what they're supposed to do and how they're supposed to handle it. And can I be there 24/7? No. But I'm telling you that everything is possibly and humanly done to make sure that they are getting the correct information out there and performing their job the way they're supposed to perform it. Now, if there's somebody out not doing what they're supposed to do, all you have to do is let me know, and we will address that.
since, Mayor, I had asked you about some purchases, but since the chief is here, did
I'm sorry, you asked me.
about the purchase of some hats for the police department. Did you, has there some hats been purchased for the police department?
That's part of their clothing allowance. We are going to a different type of hat, and that was purchased out of their clothing allowance. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, is that not supposed to go before the city council before you change your uniform?
No, as long as you have a hat, doesn't say that you have to go before city council to change a hat.
No, that's no, what I'm saying is you cannot, you're changing the uniform by buying hats.
Oh, we'll look into that, Ms. Walker. I'm not sure whether that's
No.
an issue or not, but we'll look into that and we'll report back to the council.
And when we talked about the person who makes our policy changes, when I asked him that, he says, nope, it says all it requires is that you have a hat. It doesn't specify what kind of hat in policy.
Okay, who was that?
Mr. Rollinson, Lieutenant Rollinson. He's the one that does our policies.
Okay. Tell him I'd like a copy of that policy
Okay.
that he had.
Okay.
Is there any other question of the chief? Or Ms. Wilson? Are there any other questions?
Okay.
If not, thank you very much, and,
Just want to remind
We'll
everybody
be-
about our Easter egg hunt this Saturday.
Thank you.
oh, yes, we'll do that at the end.
Okay, continuing on with my report. The fire department has provided a monthly report. We had one fire death in March, and the fire academy, they're taking applicants for the fire academy that they're gonna sponsor. Court Division Number 2 made a report, and she will provide some, she didn't have her handouts, but she will provide some handouts with some facts and figures on it. She brought her? Okay. Okay, Animal Control had no report. Former Weed and Seed announced that there will be a cleanup in the weed and seed areas, April the 21st, from various groups throughout the community. And he also talked about being a crime prevention practitioner, and in the event that ordinance number 1 passes, he would take it back to the ballot to give the Civil Service Commission the authority to hire and fire the police and fire chiefs. And if it doesn't pass, then they'll work on another solution. And that's all I have for ordinances and resolutions. That's it.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
Excuse me for public safety, I have to say.
Mayor,
That's all I have for
before we
public.
get off public safety, at the last council meeting, I specifically asked you for concerning the allegations in the document presented by Mr. Whitfield.
Yes.
You said there had been an investigation done in Internal Affairs. I asked Internal Affairs, and they said there's nothing on there.
I said there had been an investigation done, so it wasn't done by Internal Affairs, but it was investigated.
Well, if you listen to the tape, I think you said Internal Affairs.
Well, I might have misspoken.
That's what I said.
I might have
Unless you
misspoken.
done misspoke.
Yes.
That's fine. And I asked you about getting a answer to those questions presented to the council, since the allegations were presented to the council. You know, based on what I've seen so far, I tend to believe the allegations, and I'd really like to.
But what are you basing that on, sir?
The
The fact that you tend to believe the allegations?
Nobody's given us anything to counteract them. I mean, you know, and I've asked you 2 times now, to please get a answer from the chief on those allegations, and we still don't have it.
Okay, well, the answer doesn't necessarily come from the chief. The answer comes from me and the attorneys that were represented and looking into the matter. And that matter deals with the fact that the council chose to make a decision in executive session without seeing any information that had to do with the investigation. If the council wants to see the information that has to do with the investigation, that information can be provided, or that information can be requested, let me say that, by the city council to deal with the overall investigation. So based on talking with the council If the council would like to see that information, make a request to see the information as it relates to the investigation. By that way, I will not miscommunicate, I will not misspeak, or anything of that nature.
That's the reason I asked you for it in writing in the very beginning. I didn't want us to get it.
No, you asked for the chief for it in writing.
You back there in the executive session for it.
Your email said, I specifically asked you to get a written response from the chief
Yes, sir.
in the executive session, and you said that you would do that. After conferring with the council, you should provide a written explanation to me requesting the information dealing with the investigation.
Should I
So
do that through an FOI request, or how would you?
I don't know how you do. If you just give it to me, we'll provide that. That's the thing that needs to be done. And it probably should be provided through an FOI request through the city attorney.
The newspaper has done an FOI request and was.
That's the newspaper. I said the council.
Well, if I get it, it's gonna be public information, right?
I don't know. You make it public most of the time.
Yes, sir.
So,
I think the public needs to
so
know what's going on.
you can do that, but that's based on legal advice. That's what I would refer that you do, sir.
Okay, then I will get you an FOI request for the information if you just had, and if you'd, I'll contact you tomorrow and you'll guide me on that.
That'd be fine.
So
Thank you.
Let me understand something, and I'm not talking about this particular issue.
Mm-hmm.
When you request information, I'd like for you to give us.
Well, Ms. O,
Just a
excuse me
minute.
one second. No, this is dealing with this particular situation.
No, but
Not every situation do I consult legal advice on it, but this matter had to do with an executive session.
Okay,
Okay.
my question is, just forget about that. If I want some information, I would really like to know the protocol on getting information. Because I requested some information from the police department last Monday, and I just got it today. No one said anything in between time or whatever. What is, I'd like to know this.
What time did you tell them you needed the information?
I told them as quickly as possible, and that doesn't mean a whole week. It
But
doesn't-
then I assumed the time that they took and just got it today is
Well,
what was required by them.
But I had no interaction in between. No one called and said, I'm working on it, I'll have it done by X. I had to call.
Let me ask you this, who did you request it from?
I had to call today to see if you honored the request. Now, all I'm asking is, what is the protocol?
But who did you request it from?
I requested it from the chief's office. I called the chief's office and I didn't talk to her. I talked to Ms. Bonnie, and she referred it to the people who could provide the information. But it was a whole week, and I hadn't heard from anyone until I called them today. Now, I'm just asking, what is the protocol to get information? When I call it, when you call to get something, if you don't hear no more about it until you call back. Now, I didn't get it until this council meeting, so I didn't really have time to look over it. Of course, I was requesting for someone else because I'm chairman of public safety. So all I'm asking, what is the protocol of getting information? I mean, why is it so cumbersome?
Well, I don't think it is. But I can only speak to this one matter that you're speaking of at this time. I found out about it Friday from the assistant police chief, Whitfield, that you had requested some information, and I think that was through when he was notifying the chief. Therefore, I did not realize that you had requested a month ago.
Not
But
a month ago.
I'm sorry, a week ago. But I think what would be appropriate is that if you request information from any department head, protocol is that if you CC the mayor, then I'm aware of it as well. And I can then follow up with it as well, because I'll ask the question, what time period you need it and things of that nature, because we'll get it to you. You know, all this, and keep in mind, all information is public information. We don't have anything to hide in
I'm
this
not
community.
saying it's not. I'm just
Yeah.
saying the time lapse, you know.
Yeah, well,
The time lapse of a deed that stayed on your desk for 2 weeks.
Pardon me? Yes, please come
Time lapse,
address that.
I just want to know.
Okay.
I'm not trying to set any rules. I want to know what
Yeah.
the rules are.
I didn't come back from vacation till Thursday, and I think he wanted to make sure it was okay with me before he sent it out. So when he gave it to me Thursday, I immediately had them disseminate it, and if you see how big it was a whole file box of stuff back and front. So it took the copy time and everything was what was taking place. So I didn't actually get the request and find out about it until that Thursday.
Okay, so if you hadn't come back, I'd.
Yes, I know. So, but I guess he just wanted to make
Okay,
sure.
all right.
And actually, it was the wrong information.
It was the wrong
You know, it may have-
information, yeah.
That may have been my fault, it was wrong information, maybe I didn't communicate it well to him. But all I'm saying is, what is a time lapse?
There's no-
Can
there's-
things, can't go on if?
No, there's no time. Just
you can't-
call me on the
If
phone.
you're not here, you can't go on. If you had not returned, I guess I never got it.
No, I can only tell you that when I got back Thursday, that's what was brought to me, and we immediately started working on it.
Okay.
Okay.
And
But if-
But
if
all it
you
take,
look-
when I first got here, any council member could call me and ask me what to
Yes.
do, and I'm always willing and grateful to give you whatever you need. That hasn't changed with me. If whatever you need, just give me a call, and I will make sure it's
Okay,
done.
I called your office, I did not know your vacation schedule. And I didn't think.
And I'm surprised they
somebody
didn't tell
go-
you that.
Somebody go on vacation,
Somebody else
things
needs to
don't
know.
happen.
Yeah.
You know.
And-
Oh, yeah, that's why the
And the
assistant
assistant
chief had
chief
it.
is there, but I mean, I
That's
don't
why
know.
he had it.
I don't know if he didn't feel comfortable sending it out without me
Yeah.
knowing, he didn't, or whatever, but he waited till I came back and he mentioned it to me, and that's where we did it.
Okay. All I'm trying to find out is a protocol.
Yeah.
When I requested this information from Little Rock, it was a whole different ballgame.
Well, they
It took about 2 days to get it, and I didn't have to go, and then they sent me a cover letter explaining, I'm sorry it was a delay. It wasn't 2 days explaining all about why. That came from another city. But I request something here, and they lay up a whole week because somebody gone out of town, you know?
We'll see if we can correct that.
Hey, Mayor, just
Yes.
to make my point that I was trying to make is that I really don't want the entire investigation. I want the answers to the questions that are on the letter from Assistant Chief Whitfield and his attorney, Mr. Cross. That's all I've ever
Okay.
asked you for.
Yeah, well, I think that information is part of that, that was discussed in part of that, yes.
I was under the impression that the Internal Affairs really could not investigate those particular accusations. It had to be an outside group.
That's why I discussed that Internal Affairs was miscommunicated, misspoken. It was not Internal Affairs, sir. Yes.
Okay, then I'll request it tomorrow. Thank you.
All right. Okay, is that it, Ms. Oakham, for you?
Yes, it is.
Can you take us on into ordinances and resolutions, please?
Mayor, before we go to the first item on the agenda regarding the ordinances and resolutions.
Yes.
Number one, an ordinance establishing a board of civil service commissioners for the police and fire departments for the city of Pine Bluff, Arkansas. I did pass
Can you
out.
let her read that, and then?
Do you want me to do it?
Then you
Okay.
make that
All right.
discussion with us. Thank you.
Okay. Have an ordinance establishing the Board of Civil Service Commissioners for the police and fire departments of the city of Pine Bluff, Arkansas, up for the third and final reading.
An ordinance establishing a board of civil service commissioners for the police and fire departments of the city of Pine Bluff, Arkansas.
Move for adoption?
It's been moved and properly second that an ordinance establishing a board of civil service commissions for the police and fire department of the city of Pine Bluff, Arkansas. Floor is open for discussion. The city attorney would like to share some information with us that's vital and pertinent to this particular piece of ordinance.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yes.
Before the council considers this item on the agenda, I did have an opportunity to talk with Mark Hayes, who's the municipal league attorney, and he advised that in our release of all claims and settlement agreement that ordinance number 1 cannot be adopted because there has to be the ordinance that was passed back in July of 2011 has to be in existence for 12 months. It's only been 8 months since that ordinance has been in existence. You can, I think I highlighted it for everyone that indicates that. So at this point, if you pass it, it will be in conflict with the agreement, the settlement agreement, and we may get in trouble with the court if we don't abide by that settlement agreement.
The sponsor of that was Mr. Mays?
Yes, sir. May I speak, Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I talked with Attorney Scott about that outside, right before the council meeting. This was embedded in this ordinance. Okay, this is too valuable to the citizens of Pine Bluff and the council to pull it and just get rid of it. I'm not gonna do that.
All right, sir.
Okay, let me speak, Mayor. Let me speak, please. I'm willing to wait till July 18th. It's gonna come no matter what. July 18th is gonna come, and I'm just gonna, I don't want you all to vote it down because of that one, that 3 lines in here. And
But,
once
sir,
again,
are you going to table it, or you want it acted on tonight?
no, I don't want to act upon it tonight, because I want to make sure it's done right.
Yes, sir.
Can you put a, instead of it going into effect in 30 days like normal, can you put a July 18th effective date on it?
28th, I think it is, isn't it?
July 17th was the day it was
18th.
passed, so
That's
Council-
28.
28th?
It was
28th, July 28th?
The acknowledgement on the back of it is 28th.
No, I don't think it was passed. There's a last council member, which couldn't be the 28th of the month.
Scott said the 18th, July
Signed it.
18th.
Signed in
Go ahead,
advance.
start on the paper.
Well, the actual ordinance was passed, ordinance 6359 was actually passed on July the 18th. This release of all claims and settlement agreement was actually signed and endorsed by all parties on the 28th of July,
So what's the actual date?
the 18th.
18th. I'm willing to wait till the 18th to bring it back. It's too valuable.
Let me, could I ask you
You
a
gonna
question?
table it till the July 18th?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Can
sir.
I ask a question?
Yeah.
Wayne, what were you saying? If you pass it now, then it don't go into effect until July, but what if it's voted down tonight and don't go into effect at all? I'm just asking the question.
I'm just asking her, could you do that? You could put a,
I don't,
I'm just
I don't,
asking her, I'm just asking.
you know, I'm not sure, but. from
The
your
recommendation was to just wait until the 18th.
Yeah, I'm
That's the
not sure if you
recommendation.
can vote on,
That'd be the,
vote on legislation and make it effective almost 3 months
But
from
we
now.
can vote on this tonight, Mr. Mayor. We can vote on tonight
Yes.
if it's gonna be, we can vote on tonight,
Yes.
depending on what the outcome is.
Well, I
If
think
the- if the
the sponsor
sponsors-
said that he wanted to
gonna take
wait
it,
until
you can't.
July the
Yeah.
18th.
July 18th is gonna
And that's
come,
a-
and we here not.
So, sir,
I'm willing to wait.
do you want to table this, withdraw it, and bring it back?
Withdraw it, suspend it and bring it back. We don't want to watch these words, because that's what's wrong right here. Y'all worded this thing up. It's legalized. We want to suspend it until July 18th. I mean, can you explain?
How do we do that? Do we
You could just-
suspend this, I'm sorry, do we table this?
Table it,
Or you withdraw it?
She said table.
Table it
table it.
until the 18th.
Okay, now, can you explain to the citizens once again what we're doing in simple terms?
Table it.
Well, I want to, if you don't mind.
We're not gonna vote on tonight, that's
I mean, honestly now, because it was out there, it's a Civil Service Commission, it's out there. Attorney Scott.
Okay. Alderman Mays presented an ordinance to reestablish the Civil Service Commission. That's item number 1 on the agenda. In accordance with we went to court on this back last year, and there was an agreement that was reached July 18th, 2011, that basically set the rules and regulations for uniformed employees. Once, as part of the settlement agreement, within the settlement agreement that was endorsed by all parties involved, it indicates that you cannot repeal ordinance number 6359 within its first 12 months of existence. The first item on the agenda effectively repeals that ordinance. So we have to wait until July the 18th before it can be brought back before the council.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So we're withdrawing this? Is there a motion to do that?
No, you just put it on the table.
Okay, we're going to table it. Okay. Ms. Oak,
Okay,
number 2 is tabled, number 3?
yeah, number 2 is tabled.
Okay.
All right, on number 3, I'm going to refuse from reading number 3 since it does involve me, and ask Alderman Bill Browning, who's second in command, to read it.
All righty.
And I told him to insert my name beside you.
And I'll refuse to vote.
We have a resolution honoring Alderwoman Irene Holcomb for her years of service to the community on the city council by renaming 3rd Avenue Neighborhood Park the Irene Holcomb 3rd Avenue Neighborhood Park.
Whereas Alderman Irene Holcomb has served 23 years as a member of the City Council, and whereas Alderman Holcomb has represented her ward and the community with distinction worthy of recognition by this council, and whereas the property constituting 3rd Avenue Neighborhood Park was donated to the city by General Waterworks, the predecessor to United Waterworks Arkansas, and whereas the park is equipped primarily through the generosity of Simmons First National Bank and its chief executive, Mr. Thomas May, and whereas naming this park after Alderwoman Holcomb will serve to honor her service by enshrining her name on a facility which provides the public with a place for recreation, rest, and repose, as well as a place for the children for whom she has long been a strong and vocal advocate to play. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Pine Bluff, Arkansas, that we, the mayor, and the members of the City Council, on behalf of the citizens of Pine Bluff, in appreciation and honor of Alderwoman Irene Holcomb and for her service to the City of Pine Bluff as a member of the council for 23 years, hereby provide that the property known as 3rd Avenue Neighborhood Park shall be renamed Irene Holcomb 3rd Avenue Neighborhood Park. The name change shall be reflected in all city records, and guides and signage reflecting this change shall be installed by the Parks Department or City Department maintaining the parks at first opportunity.
Move for adoption.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded that a resolution honoring Alderwoman Irene Holcomb for her years of service to the community on the City Council by renaming 3rd Avenue Neighborhood Park the Irene Holcomb 3rd Avenue Neighborhood Park. Floor is open for discussion.
Mayor Reedus.
Yes.
Mrs. Holcomb didn't know that I was sponsoring this, naming this park in her honor. But she really worked hard years ago to get this park in operation. And sometimes people don't use it like they should because it's really a nice little park. But they don't use it like they should. But in the meantime, even if they don't use it, if someone comes up and say, well, maybe we could take something from that little park down there, they're not using it. If you want to get her dandruff up, you talk about moving something out of that park. And it's on. So I thought it was befitting to have her name on it because she had worked very hard for it. And sometimes you all might take your children down there. It's a really nice little park. It's behind Yancey's Furniture, back over off of 3rd Avenue, just off the expressway. It's really nice. A basketball goal down there, and some equipment for the children and everything.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
I can remember whenever that park was put in and went down for the grand opening, if you will, and Ms. Holcomb being the advocate that got it done, and I just think this is great. She has been a real steward for her area of the city, and I definitely support this.
And the city as a whole, sir. Yes, sir.
You know, I would say that I'm not going to vote on this, and I didn't read it.
You're welcome to vote.
Oh, I'm welcome.
So,
May
I speak before you? Since
yes, sir, yes, sir.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I just want to commend you, Alderwoman Holcomb, for your wisdom and understanding upon the council. It helped me a whole lot. As far as the things you do, the way you carry yourself, and the way you read over and study our city business, you are well deserving of that. And I want to commend you on that.
Thank you, sir.
Well, as I was getting ready to say, this is an honor, but it really wasn't done for any particular honor. It really happened a little bit when you build relationships. Well, we had I'm just going to give you a little history of it. We had a neighborhood organization, and we were working pretty hard in the neighborhood organization, and we talked about doing a park, and it was a church that was going to let us use a lot for the park. No, it was individuals who were going to let us use a lot for the park that was close to a church. And some of the church members objected because they didn't want balls hitting their cars and kids playing. You know how church people are. So
Not all church people.
so consequently, the manager of John Waterworks, Ms. Jeanette Delaney, I don't know where she is now, but she was here then, and we were working on some projects, some downtown development projects. And she got a notice from the city to cut this acre of land down there that she didn't even know that the General Waterworks owned. So she didn't want to be responsible for it. So she said, "Well, I will donate this. We'll donate this land to the neighborhood park, and donate it to the city to become a part of the park system." Of course, Parks and Rec really didn't want any more parks. They didn't want to maintain the parks. Of course, at that time was Mayor Carolyn Robinson was mayor, and she tried to change their mind about it. You know, you don't just give up a gift. And the dedication was done in July, so we got our little Christmas present in July. Now, how equipment came about, Mr. Tommy May from Simmons First National Bank, I was introduced to him by Montine McNulty, and we were talking, and we had our first meeting. We had a little argument, but as a result of what we were doing, he decided he would put some equipment in the park. And he's never forgotten that either. When I see him periodically, he said, "You remember the little park?" So that was really, it came from networking with people and building relationships. And that's what the whole deal is about. Building relationships with people. When you build relationships, you can get people to do things. So it was no cost to the city, only just to maintain it. Of course, Parks and Rec did put some additional equipment in there. Of course, now people, they want to start a little park, they eye that equipment to put in their park. I let them know.
That's where it stopped.
Yeah, and it is used, the basketball goals are used, and a famous athlete used to play down there, Basil Shabazz. He used to play down in that neighborhood park. So, having said all that, I will just, it is an honor, but it was not done for that.
We understand.
That you were there, Ms.
All right.
Yes,
So I'm finished.
All right. And in recognition and honor of Mrs. Holcomb, would all the council members like to be a sponsor on this piece of
Yes.
legislation?
Yes.
If you would, Ms. Holcomb, I think, well, we probably should take the vote for it. All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, there's an 8-0 unanimous approval, so we'll all get all, huh? 7, well, she voted. She'll vote for herself. And we'll have that, and I'll make sure that the Parks Department get those signs
As
changed.
long as you don't put a sign up there like the one on J.C. Jeffries. It looks like a street sign.
I can't recall that, but we'll make sure that a sign is a coming, very becoming of his name. Yes, not a street sign.
The only change will be is her name. They're gonna attach her name, because she likes the sign that's there.
Okay,
So they're just gonna put her name.
attach her
on
name to it.
top.
And we'll make sure that they get the park cleaned up and
And they
painted
do
up.
pretty good with it.
Okay. All righty. Well, thank you. All right, moving on, Ms. Hogan.
Have a resolution provided for the placement of costs and correcting certain nuisances on tax books as delinquent taxes and collected as such.
Let me read the whole thing. Let me read it.
Yes, read the title.
Okay. A resolution providing for placement of costs of correcting certain nuisances on tax books as delinquent taxes and collected as such.
Move for adoption.
It's been moved and properly seconded that a resolution providing for placement of costs of correcting certain nuisance on tax books as delinquent taxes and collecting as such. Mr. Steps, did you have anything on that, sir?
No, Mayor, just the one item we have here.
Pardon me?
Just the one item we have here.
Okay. Are there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposers? The motion passes 8-0. Okay.
That's all I have.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mayor Reader,
Yes, ma'am.
can I ask the city attorney to give us a report on what the city is doing about the halfway house for the violent and sex offenders that the Department of Correction is attempting to put out there?
At this point, Alderman Walker, I am in the process of preparing a pleading which will enjoin the state from putting forward, from going forward with their plans to have a halfway house off of 13th. I anticipate that I'll be completed with the pleadings by Wednesday and file them with Jefferson County Circuit Court.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Mrs. Laurel Hull. Is it pronounced Laurel?
Laurel.
Laurel Hull, I'm sorry.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, thank you for this opportunity to come and speak tonight. At the beginning of the City Council meeting, we recited the Pledge of Allegiance, and it said toward the end, and liberty and justice for all. I'm here tonight to speak on behalf of my daughter, Cleshindra Hall, that disappeared on May 9th, 1994 without a trace. On last Thursday, March 29th, the Pine Bluff Police Department served a warrant to the residence of Larry Amos, which is the last place that she was seen on Fawcett Road. While I appreciate what was done on that day, it has been almost 18 years. On May 9th this year will be 18 years since my daughter disappeared without us knowing anything in regard to where she is. And I am asking that the council use whatever leverage you have to encourage the police department or whatever agency that they need to communicate with to continue to put pressure on whoever is necessary to move forward in the investigation of my daughter's disappearance. I am the advocate for my daughter and have not been as aggressive as I should have been in the last 18 years. I have been a resident of this community all of my life. My husband has also been a resident of this community. We are taxpayers, we are voters, and I would like to see something done. We should not have had to go on 18 years without having a search of the last place that she was. I have tried to be patient with the process, but because I have been patient, my daughter's case has been inactive. And I am asking as a citizen, as a parent, that something more be done. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hall. Thank you.
I can answer a question if I like. I had a piece of legislation out about a month ago on the agenda, and they had told me that the police department was working on it that day, so I pulled it off. They had Cassandra Hall.
Stephen, this is not the
Cassandra
time.
Hall.
Yeah.
Let me speak, 'cause I'm gonna bring it back in 2 weeks and we'll try to reword it. Because I had it on my notes before I came on the council. And you got my word, I'm gonna put it back on there. And I'm on to the people that supported me, that I will help you all and I will do what I can while I'm here. I'm gonna bring that back, and you got my word on that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Hall, the council as a whole is very concerned about your daughter, about your family, about this particular case. All that can be done will be done on behalf of the city council.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
And it's not, Ms. Hall, it's not about the legislation, it's about the commitment. And as the mayor said, the city is committed to assist you with some answers, maybe even through other agencies. It's not about legislation, now it's about being concerned.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
God bless you.